Hello, everybody, and welcome to Problem Solve Her, an innovative and fun podcast for women and men of all ages. And we are here to discuss everything from beauty to success and giving women power and independence. And we have an incredible guest today. But first and foremost, I'm your host, Chloe, along with my beautiful co-host,
Dagmar.
Dagmar's in the house. And today we have Kat Sitton, and she is very different from other guests we've had on the podcast so far because she's in a very rare and unique business. And I think it's really exciting that people learn about the bees because before I even get into Kat at all, without the bees, there would be a drastically reduced supply in the world for food. I don't think people realize that. The bees' pollination is really important. And the honeybee can go up to 15 miles an hour, which is just a fun random fact, but I love that. So think of it as like as fast as your golf cart can go if you own one of those. So Kat is the founder and creator of Mojo Bees, which is located in Miami. And she is a passionate beekeeper, environmental educator, and most importantly, a dedicated mother to her daughter. And Kat's hobby and interest in bees has become her mission and her business. And she's doing this by spreading positivity and cultivating a movement, which is major. And she's going to share more of that. And Kat, welcome to Problem Solve Her. We're happy to have you.
Hello, friends. Hello. It is so exciting to be here. Thank you so much for this very warm welcome. Hello, everybody out there. How is everybody?
Kat, before we get into the questions and do the Q&As and everything and put you on the spot, because we love to do that in a positive way, tell us a little bit of your background and how you got into this unique business, because you see a lot of people today like Jennifer Garner, who I love dearly, and other celebrities are trying to be beekeepers and have this, huge interest in hobby because it's so important to our environment. So if you can just tell us a little bit about your background, we'd love to hear that.
Sure. It all gone back to Girl Scouts. My daughter was a Girl Scout since she was like very young, 4 to 18. It was nice to see her progression. One of the mothers, she was a beekeeper, and I always have been a very natural person. I always had gardens my whole life, just that kind of person. Love the dirt. Before I had wanted to have bees, but the state wouldn't allow it just because this whole, I guess we call it the bees. Anyhow, the state was, I'm sorry, the state was, we're not regulating. Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. I was just trying to think of the word and it slipped my brain. Right. So anyhow, I couldn't have bees way back when, but when my daughter started Girl Scouts and then eventually the state took over for the Africanized bees. I did kind of want to use that word because it's such a misnomer, but they weren't letting people have bees in their backyard, but they were discovering that it was doing more harm than good. So they let people do it being regulated by the state. And so by the time my daughter got a little older, she had the hives, and I went over there and I started just working them. And it was really good for me because my daughter was still at home at the time, and it sort of progressed through the pandemic. I was very fortunate, I guess, in hindsight, that I lost my job and was able to start the beekeeping business and just start out.
What job was that? If you don't mind me asking, what business were you in before?
I used to work at the cruise line.
Yeah.
I was working at a head shop, and because I had stayed home with her so long, it was hard for me to get a job. I went to try to go back to work, but people thought either I was in jail or, they just didn't like the gap in my resume. So I had to find a retail job. I started working at Spencer's Gifts, and that changed my life entirely because I was working with younger people. And then I started my friend was going to buy the place, and then it ended up not happening. So I was just a regular employee working 12-hour days. I would watch everybody drive by in the traffic, and I'm like, this is really not my situation. This is not where I need to be. So the pandemic hit, and I lost my job. And I was able to get some unemployment as well as to do some the money that I had from my background. And so started beekeeping, and it completely changed my view because I was sort of turning angry. One of the things about Spencer's that helped me out is helped me get a younger mind. It's not set in my worldview that I've had grown up with and all the voices in my head. And so that really saved me. And then the bees came along, and I would try to be working in a nasty mood. And the bees are like, we're not going to have that. And they would come and they would sting me. So gradually, over time, and learning about the bees and learning how to work with the bees, I had to come up with a better attitude. And in turn, they helped me change my attitude because it gave me something to do. Then my daughter had left, which is, it hurts. I don't think that you talk about that a lot as parents when they do leave and you've done a good job and they become
You mean
independent.
leaving the nest?
Exactly. It hurts. It's like a death of self. So the bees gave me a new purpose, a great new purpose, really, because the more I learn about bees, both honeybees and native pollinators to North America, it's just astounding about how they work and how they operate. And you are correct. It's like if these pollinators go and they're dying off at terrible rates, we're not going to really have any form of pollinating agriculture, and we're going to be in serious trouble on the planet for sure. Yes.
I think that's really interesting that the shift that the reason I asked what your job was before in your background is because I was curious if you had an agricultural background, if you had anything, like you said, you love gardening, right? I like to think I have a green thumb. We all do. I'm like, I can have an orchid live for 6 months. They die in two. But what you're doing is a very difficult and tedious. And when I say the word tedious, I mean because there's so many details, right? And things, and you said in the beginning the bees were stinging you. I mean, anyone that even would go past a wasp's nest would run 70 miles in the other direction, but you're going toward it. So I think it's important for listeners and viewers to understand what's behind that and how you created it into a business.
So, I did a lot of YouTube University. It's really fantastic. I do have a green thumb with the gardening, and my yard is sort of set up to have more of a native sort of landscape. So I got to watching all these videos about how to raise bees and how to, do splits and feed your bees and make more bees and how the bee cycle works. And the deeper I dug into that realm of bees, the more I learned, the more like it opened my perspective of how things work in the world and our connectivity. I've always been like a metaphysical person of believing in the energy of self and people and being able to manifest things by, speaking your truth and, making it happen. It's not just like saying I want bees. You have to do the work, right? And I did the work and it really helped me with my personality. And I don't really feel like I ever had a fear of being stung by bees. There was this once with my friend who she got me into beekeeping. I wanted to work the bees. I was so insistent, and it was overcast, and I probably shouldn't have done it. And they got a little irritated at me, like a lot, and they started like swarming all over me. And this is very much in the beginning. And this is how I knew that I was gonna really like be a beekeeper and be serious about it. Closed up the colony, the hive, and everything. And one bee got underneath my jeans, right? And this is also a lesson about how to dress properly. Everything's like connected to each other. One bee came up and then stung me, and that's like a pheromone. And all the other bees, they smelled it and they're like, and like 12 bees stung me at once. And so I had to walk. Like it's hilarious. I'm like in my bee veil suit. I'm walking down like the Martian on the moon or something. And people are driving by me in cars, and bees are swarming all over around me. And I just walked far enough, and they went back home. And then it took them a long time to calm down. The neighbors were not very happy. It was a big deal, but it was a big lesson for me. And I was, I couldn't walk for a while because it swelled up, but it didn't kill me, right? Because that's the big thing about people will think with bee stings that are really allergic and they can, have anaphylactic shock. And it's just generally not the case. I think that's why bees get a bad rap. And I took the pain, and the bee venom was good. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this better. And that's where I started to learn to do better, was from this like a catastrophe of bees, really. It's like I can talk about it and laugh now because in a funny way. But at the time, it was like a horror show. I was just like, oh my God, there's so many bees. It hurt so bad when they stung me. I'm like, what am I doing? But it's just like I had this love for it. But I don't want to think everybody like when I go and walk up in the bees now that they sting me, because I can just walk up to my colony and they don't bother me at all. They can smell of fear and they can smell the pheromones of joy, all our the scents that we put off. So it's changed the way that I approach my life. So I'm not so angry. And I feel like my whole entire vibe has changed, and the bees are, very chill around me. And even when people come and visit me and they see the bees, they don't bother anybody. It's just when I go into the hive and get the honey, which everybody loves, and to see how they're doing, that they get a little defensive because I'm like literally tearing their whole house apart. And they're like, hey, we just cleaned. What are you doing? So they get defensive. But it's all right. The bee stings are good. They're part of a thing. The bee pays bigger price than I do, and the bee venom is actually good for you. They found really very good for you. It's anti-aging, antimicrobial, and they did some research now with breast cancer where it's killing a lot of the cancer cells. So it's
Wow.
good stuff. Yeah, it is. And you can get it ethically. They have like a little glass plate that sort of shocks the bee, and it ejects the venom out, and then they will gather that up, and then the bee stinger doesn't get stuck because it gets stuck in the skin and it kind of rips out and it kills the bee when they sting you. But with the glass, they don't get stuck and they can just go and make more venom. So it's a lot of great progression with stuff like that. They're just realizing like, nature gives us so much. Is what I've learned is like nature is always within man, but man is not like in nature. We've sort of forgotten, how much we get from it and how much it gets from us. We're so interconnected.
I think it's so amazing, Kat, what you just said, because at the end, we know that about dogs and cats, right? That our behavior, our energy, if we are angry or if we are happy, affects them, their mood, their health, their reactions. And it's the same like when I work with the feral cats. It depends so much how I approach them, what result I get, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah. 100%.
and I can see that with you, like when people work with you and you coach them, it's not just creating a bee hotel or creating a beehive on a balcony. It's really going into the energy of the bees and becoming one with them. The same what we do with our pets, with the dogs and the cats and the bunnies or the birds, becoming one with their energy. I can totally see how this made you becoming a more peaceful, better, understanding, calmer person. Because that's if we work with other living beings and like with humans too, right? In the way how we approach them, that's what we get back.
It's a feedback loop. When you give a positive feedback to somebody, you give them a compliment and they're like, oh, it's nice. But if you come at somebody or anything with something negative or defensive, then they're going to immediately be like, and
Yeah,
it comes back to you, and it works either
right.
way. You can go for the bad or you can go for the good. And it's so much easier to go with the good, just the better vibe. They set me right. Sometimes when I notice they're getting fussy, I realize there's something going on with me that I shouldn't really, like be thinking about. I should be concentrating on the bees, and they let me know.
So you're saying the bees, your specific bees, right? That live on your property, they're in your environment. They feel your energy when it's off.
100%.
That's incredible.
100%.
That's a really good fact for people to know because I don't think that people would even, well, like you said, they get a bad rap. People just think of them as, oh my God, here's a bee, here's a wasp, they're coming to sting me. I was just in Cyprus and there was a group of bees because someone had left a fruity drink on the beach that was sitting in the chair next, and my cousin started going crazy. And he's like 15. And I was like, you have to stay calm. If you don't stay calm, this bee is coming for you. Just chill,
It
you know?
smells that fear pheromone that's coming out of his mouth
Yeah.
while he's screaming, and it's giving him it's like an air tag. That scream is like, "Hey, I'm over here. Come find me."
Exactly. Come and get me. Please bite me. It's like, I know this is funny, but I think of Jerry Maguire. And when the kid says to Tom Cruise, bees and dogs smell fear, he just like randomly like says the sentence out loud. And it's the truth. And just like
Exactly.
dogs, if you go by and you see, a Doberman or a Rottweiler, I had a situation during COVID when I was I was still in Jamaica full time. My aunt and I would walk every morning the same path, and this Rottweiler got out of the yard. Rottweilers. I'm more scared of a Rottweiler than And she said, "Stand still, don't move." And I
It's
was
like
like,
that, right?
like this. And the dog came over, and she always walked with a stick, and she said, "Move!" And it's like I couldn't believe the confidence she had with this dog. to say like, I'm not scared of you, you're going to be scared of me. That thing tucked its tail so fast and ran right up the driveway. If it was me, my foot would have been gnarled off. I would have been so scared, right? So it's like you saying that in the beginning with the bees, so they bit you, they were up your leg, but you got to a point where there was respect between you and the bee colony that they wouldn't even think to do that because they're part of your life.
Well, sometimes they still sting me. They're just like, hey, you're
Well,
still in my
we're
house.
saying in the majority.
Right, exactly. We're not like 15, 20 times. Yeah, so it's not a perfect thing.
Right.
For sure.
Cat doesn't have only one colony.
I have many colonies. Yes, I have many. And then the more I get. They know that it's a place to be. The bees kind of like, all right. And then I have more wildlife here. I have more dragonflies. I have more butterflies. I have other kinds of animals. I'm trying to attract some bats. I haven't had much success, but I'm planting a garden for that. And it's amazing. Possums, woodpeckers, just in my backyard.
Each colony has its own name.
Oh, yes, that's right. So
its own house and its own name.
Own name, exactly. So, like, I'm really big on telling stories. I always like to recognize when people help me out or they're significant to me. And so each hive will have its own name, like it's a name that everybody can call it, like Casa Mojo Hive or the Elvis Hive or Vice Hive, right? But they all have a secret name named after the person that did something for me. And the only people who know the real name, are myself and then the person that the hive is named after.
Very cool.
Yes. And I do that also
on your property where you live?
Yes, I live, that was the nice thing about the state taking over, and you just regulate it and the inspector comes out and you're limited to how many you can have in a certain amount of space. And I have them in my backyard. And it's real nice because I have a screened in area so people can come and they're right in front of the screened area. And they come and they watch the bees.
You also have tours at your home?
Well, not yet, but that is one of the goals, to be having that type of tour. Just the situation is not set up 100%, but yes, I will be being able to have tours. And then, also with naming everything, it's more sort of a thing with, I do lotions and soaps and things like that. And so I was really fortunate to become a part of this cohort, the business of beekeeping, University of Florida. It was 30 of us beekeepers, so it was nice to meet beekeepers throughout the entire state. We did 2.5 years, and we would go up to Gainesville like once every 4 months, and the rest of the time would be online and Zooms. But the two people who really important was one Amy Vu and Mary Bammer, and she both made a big difference in my life. So I named the lotion bar Bam after Mary and Vava Vu after Amy, and it's really important to be able to honor the people that are around you in a way, and it makes naming things easier for me too, because and so each hive has its own personal name. And eventually what I'm going to do is have it set up, and you can watch Vice Hive and you can watch, Casa Mojo Hive. That's for the future. Get some cameras set up on there because it's really great. I just sit out in the morning, I would go spend 15 minutes with the bees, and like 45 minutes later, I'm like, oh wait, I got something to do. Just watch them, and you can hear them like if they're upset. You can hear the different vibrations in their the way that they buzz. When you get in there and they're chill in the beginning, you smoke them and they're all right, and then they get to a certain point, they're like, all right, we're done. And the vibration goes up, and you can hear them. And they're like, okay, they give you a warning. They don't just come right at you. They give you like a boop on the head. They start buzzing around you, making higher pitch sounds. So if you pay attention to that kind of stuff, just with the bees or in general, you can really help yourself with a lot of trial and error.
What should somebody do if they are scared of the bees and there's a bees flying around them? What would you say somebody should do?
Just keep quiet. Don't open your mouth. Start screaming that they're bees, because it lets them know that it's a carbon-based life form and attracts them. Just walk away. Start walking away, and they'll leave you alone eventually. Don't run. Just calmly walk the other way, and then eventually the bees will just stay where they were. I think generally the bees are not going to be after you in that way, like a big clump of bees, unless you've gone somewhere where you're close to the bees and they're trying to tell you, hey, we're here, go away. So but that happens, walk away real calm. Don't scream bees. It lets them know where you are.
Hey Kat, last time as we chatted, you asked me, I told you I'm outside with the white flowers for my bees and my butterflies. And you said, oh, do you have a bee hotel? And I'm, what? Share.
So yeah, the bee hotels are really something cool that I've done. honeybees are not native to North America. They came over on the ships from Europe, and they are sort of invasive. I don't want to give honeybees a bad name, but they don't really come from here. So they're kind of pushing out native pollinators. And it's not through the fault of the bees. We're just taking down a lot of their habitats, building things over them, and then the honeybees go for what is there. And everybody loves honey and wax. So the honeybees sort of get precedent. The bee hotels, you can see them sometimes in hardware stores or merchandise places. Those generally are not the best, but it's a hotel for native pollinators, and I make it out of sustainable products. I have the BJ's and get a peanut butter, a big thing of peanuts is 6-7 inches tall, which is a big factor. It has to be between 6 and 8 inches. And then I put in, I have bamboo at the house, and I put in sticks of bamboo with a certain diameters, like an eighth of an inch, 16th of an inch. Sometimes if I do a quarter, I'll put 2 tubes in there, and I'll put it in a tree, or I can put it on the ground. And the native pollinators, it gives them a place to rest and to lay eggs. These pollinators, like the orchid bee and the mason bee, the sweat bee, they're dying out in horrible numbers. Everybody's talking about the honeybee, and they are also dying in terrible numbers. It's like consecutive. The two native and non-natives it's a sort of it's a horrible thing that's happening.
What's the culprit for that?
So the biggest culprit is, well, it's many things. One is pesticides. When you use poisons and pesticides, it tracks and goes everywhere. So it's really bad. Also, when people grow things and they use chemicals for stuff like that, it's bad. The other thing is that we're taking a lot of their landscape away, trees and bushes, clearing our yard out, or, building some new building and taking all the trees. So a lot of that is going away, sort of becoming a concrete jungle in some areas. So there's a dearth of resources available. And the other thing is they fly. I learned something new today. I didn't know they could fly at 15 miles per hour, but they fly up to a 5-mile radius every day from their hive and back. So sometimes they get tired and they need a place to rest. So both native and non-native. And so this is a place where they can also rest. And then what happens is the honeybees are a colony of one queen. She lays all the eggs, right? The native bees, they will mate. Every female can lay eggs. And in the tube, she'll lay like 2, 3, 4 chambers. And each chamber she'll block off with dirt. That's why the mason bees are called mason bees. And then the parents will go off. They'll have left food in there for the eggs. The eggs will mature and turn into a viable bee, and then it'll chew itself out and then start pollinating and do the whole process over again. So these native pollinator houses allow you to have something in the smallest of spaces, like a condominium or your apartment of your balcony, because there's a lot of high rises, here in Miami. And it's sort of, in a way, if we could get a bigger movement towards this, you could have these on many, many different balconies, and it would, not completely negate, obviously, but would really help with them having places to sleep and have a place to lay their eggs and stuff like that. And then in turn, then you sort of put plants and things on your balcony that are native that help them out, and, works together symbiotically. And you also have like a nice little nature place for other bees to rest, because the bees will get tired and they'll sleep in the flower. Like, if you've seen the picture of the big bumblebee butt in the flower, right? Yeah, so they do that. So the bee hotels are a really awesome way to be able to host native pollinators in your yard or in a short space. And they're pretty easy to make. This really sustainable products that a lot of people have.
Yeah. So that's something you want to help them temporarily, right? While they are flying by.
Well, so yes, the more so with the plants that I plant around the native hotels, the bee hotels. Some of them will have like a higher area that could offer a resting area, but probably kind of uncommon. It really kind of gives them a place. Solitary bees, I guess, yes, it does give solitary bees a place to rest in that tube, because they come in and out prior to even laying the eggs, and then they bring in the food source for themselves and then for the young. So yeah, it does give them a place to rest, 100%. And then it would go back out, and then they'd lay the eggs, and then they would go out and they would, pass on, and the kids would come and, grow up, and starts the cycle over again. So yes. I was thinking no, but absolutely it does, right? Because they're not just going in there right away and laying an egg and never leaving. They come in and out for a while.
Yeah, perfect.
And they look really nice. You can make them paint however you like them. It's a fun
Fantastic.
project. So simple. And it gets people back to nature too. It's like you're doing something because it's overwhelming these days, right? Like you will do this, throw the plastic away, everything microplastics and trash. So it's like, oh, I just can't do anything. So you kind of shut down. But this is a very simple thing that you can do for yourself and the
If
pollinators.
you think, yeah, you do it for yourself. You create your own little peaceful environment to bring nature into your balcony. But on the other side, if everybody would do it, it has a bigger effect,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Like a movement.
Yeah.
Yes, something. A condominium association get together and put this on your balconies, and it would really be very helpful for a very small thing. Like one little small gesture can make so much of a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just curious, how many different bee types are there in the world?
There's so many different bee types. I saw I have to look that up. There's like 14,000 different types of native pollinators, and then you get into
I
the
think maybe a few thousand.
No, I'm going to double check that number because it's the North American native pollinators that I remember reading, and like this huge amount is dying of they're just extinct now, all the species. And then there's different forms of honeybees. There's like Italian honeybees and there's German honeybees, and they have bees in South Africa that have a different kind of honey, and they're big. They're really kind of like a bee hater is worse than like big guys, but they make the best honey. So
Did you hear that, Dagmar? There's German honeybees.
German black bees. Yes, yeah. I
Oh,
ran
yes,
into some German
Dagmar.
black bees when I was in Hamburg. Yes, that's where I saw. I spotted them. Yes. So,
At the end, Kat's mission is to educate, to create change, so that everybody can create their own peaceful environment for themselves, for their kids, right? To bring them closer to nature, but
exactly.
also do something good for the world and help that our food change.
Yeah, it's exactly. And then it brings an education and a respect that I think that we are lacking in some ways with our screened lifestyle, that we're not connected. And it's an easy way to see cause and effect of something you've done and to educate. It's just a simple matter. And then that sparks some sort of a fire within somebody. And they may not like bees. They might like something else, trees or fungus, get into the whole fungi thing. That's a whole nother thing that's the thing I've learned so much about other mechanisms that work within each other doing the bees. And I feel like other people can have a very similar journey with that if just someone helps them along the way and teaches them, interesting facts. I think that's sort of lacking today in our society. We're just sort of detracted from that.
Absolutely. We're removed from reality in a lot of ways. And I like what you said. Keep it's back to basics. Keep it simple, right? Think about how things were done way before any of us were here. There were no cell phones, there was no internet. I think about, like I say to my parents, how did you guys drive across the country like in the 70s with just a map? And I know it's like, oh my God, it's so simple, but really it's like use your brain and go back to things. I love like farm to table and having gardens and fresh fruits and vegetables and filtered waters and composts and all these things. And I think the younger generation really needs to be a lot more mindful, even if you're separating plastics from your regular garbage. And if you look at the oceans and see how much garbage is collected right now in Florida, especially the turtles. I'm on the board of a nonprofit where saving the turtles is one of our biggest initiatives. Turtles are really important too. We need them in the oceans, and we need to protect them so that the mamas can lay the little babies.
Hmm.
So all these small things, right? And like you said, just
Exactly.
having something on your terrace or in your backyard or flowers and gardens where bees can go to that don't have chemicals on them, and there's only natural products to help so that they can create. I'm trying
Well,
to think
that's
of the
the
right word.
biggest thing that you
Yeah.
learn is also there's 1,400, not 14,000 native there's a lot more native pollinators, but native bee pollinators in North America, 1,400, and a lot of them are dying. So I just lost my train of thought. What did you just say? Remind me.
No, about
Oh, I was
if
gonna say
people
just a
can have
short,
certain
right.
plants in their backyards and on their
Yes.
terraces that don't have chemicals and orchids. I noticed because I have a lot of orchids that bees love the orchids.
Oh,
I don't
for
know why.
sure. And I think in just a short period of time, like since the 80s, and I grew up in the 80s, it's like, I didn't have any source of, I rode my bike everywhere, and it just outgrew the, even in my personal life, I think we forget even in our age and in between our ages, maybe a little older, these conveniences have become good for us and we got into it. So everybody can be just a little bit, more aware of where we're going as far as, figuring out having a garden in your backyard or just like not poisoning things that like killing the insects in general. Really, insects seem to be our enemy, and weeds, everything that we ever need as far as for our body is within nature. And we're cutting down dandelions, which are really awesome for you, and we're killing weeds and we're putting pesticides, and it's just sort of screwing everything up. So it's really important to learn to respect because you don't need any poisons in your yard if you have the right plants. You don't. Lemongrass, the mosquitoes go away. Or if I have bees, I have dragonflies, and the dragonflies are great predators. They eat the mosquitoes right up. There's ways you can do it naturally without having to throw a bunch of chemicals in the planet. And I really feel like that's my biggest message: that insects are not our enemy. Somewhere along the line, we just have to, poison our houses and our family members with things that are killing bugs that are actually very beneficial to us for, just because we've been doing it for so long. I think it needs to sort of change that mindset, and that'd be very helpful for sure.
I think it's perfect, Kat, especially because one of your goals is um, to educate the youth and to educate young people and adults who are interested in a more natural lifestyle. But the really the key of what you're doing and what you're offering in your business is to start with creating a seed, right? Because if people are not aware of it, they perhaps think it's crazy, or they think it's not necessary, or they don't understand the whole picture of it. Like, as I worked in a small city for a mayor, they had programs in their preschools and kindergartens teaching kids about recycling. So they had the recycling monsters coming in. So there were three adults dressed like, what is that? Kermit?
Kermit
Dressed
the
like,
Frog, Oscar the Grouch, or
no, the who ate the cookies, Cookie Monster.
Cookie
Dressed like the
Cookie
Cookie
Monster.
Monsters, right? And
Cookie.
then they had the three garbage cans, one for
Sesame
class,
Street
one
all over
for
again.
plastic recycling, and one for the regular house garbage. And then the kids could feed the garbage cans. So it was part of exercise, game, fun. And then they went home. And if the parents recycled it wrong, they told the parents, hey, that's not how they taught
Exactly.
us. This is how you do it. And I think that's really the gift of what you offer to anybody who's working with you,
Well,
that you
thank you. I
not
appreciate
only
that.
educate them, but you help them reframe their mindset.
Just like I've done for myself. It's been such a journey. I just would love to be able to help people the way that I've changed my whole entire viewpoint and planting that seed. That's what happened with me. I don't think that bees is everybody's thing, but if I plant that seed of wonder and education, then you're going to find something else that you can become passionate about. And a lot of people have lost their passion in just the ease of things coming to us. We get a little complacent. And I feel like that's where I was at after my daughter left. I was very complacent, which turned to anger, like fierce anger of like where I expected my life to be and where I'm at now. And um, that in itself planted a seed of learning about the bees and changing and understanding. And that's how it happened for me. And I think that, when I do that for other people, they have their own journey, but I can start them on it, just how I started on myself. Other people are always there, have been there for me. And I've been very appreciative about it. I think women a lot of times don't want to help from others. I don't know, judgment thing. I think, what it is in my brain. And that's not, we shouldn't be doing that. We birthed every person on this planet and stick together and help each other out. And it's very, very powerful. 100%. That's the other thing I've learned. That's how the bees work. That's something I've learned about bees, because 95% of the hive is female. Very few of them are male. They're drones, right? And the drones are important. They get a bad rap because they don't really collect food, they don't sting, and they don't defend, but they do have roles within the hive, and they're super important for the genetics. The
I
queen
was
will
going to say,
mate.
well, they need them to reproduce, so we have to keep
Exactly.
that 5%. I love how
Exactly.
95% is just the 5% of those. We need those. We have to reproduce the bees.
Exactly. And how they work together, these 95% females, is so telling of, yes. And sometimes they're really brutal. They really are brutal to each other. Like if a queen, she lives like 3 to 4 years and lays like 1,200 eggs a day. So if somebody tells you you're going to be the queen bee, you just want to say like, no, don't do that. But the
Well,
other bees last for like 30 to 40 days. So essentially, when she stops laying eggs, her great times 12 granddaughters will like ball her up and heat her up and make 6 more queens, killing the old queen. And whoever comes out first of those queen
woo,
cells kills all the other
brutal.
queens,
It sounds like
right?
King Henry
So,
VIII and all his queens.
right.
This
So,
is
it's a whole the brutal side to nature that's there, but then everybody has their little place and they all do what they need to do. They're very hygienic. So, it's taught me a lot about having to what I call womaning, because sometimes that's hard to woman.
but it sounds like you found a lot of healing through the bees. And a lot of times people think that healing needs to be through words and through other human to human contact. But the fact that you found it in nature and getting no physical response back, right? They can't speak to you, they can't hug you, can't have physical touch. But the energy they provide, and like you say, when you go out there in the morning, it's almost like that's your meditation. And 45 minutes in, they're like, okay, time to go, sister, see you later. And it's like your tranquility, okay, and then you go on with your day. So I think that's another thing that you can really people can resonate with, because there are people out there that need a lot of healing today, and that's a lot of what Dagmar and I speak about, and what we also do for coaching, and especially younger women who are a little, there are points in their life they're not really sure. Maybe they just graduated college and they're going off to their first real job, and they don't have maybe mentors or directions to go in. They don't have that inner confidence and strength and independence. So I think that the three of us can offer that to them in different ways, which is so interesting because it's from three very different perspectives. We
It,
all have a different approach.
yeah, and it's so important. That was one of the things about working at Spencer's. I was working with younger people, and I was able to connect with them. And as much as I helped them, they helped me in return. And that was the thing that I had to learn was like, just because I'm older doesn't mean I know more. They had to experience things I never had any clue about.
Well, we do. The younger generation, that's one of their problems. They think they know more than,
Well,
well,
didn't we used to think we knew everything at that age too?
oh yeah, of
So
course.
yes, I agree. It's a double-edged sword for sure. Yes, but it's very empowering, really, be able to do that. And I also think, like with the vibe of my hives and the products that I put out, I don't put any pesticides, and I don't treat with chemicals. If my bees are going to live, they're going to live. I will assist them, but they will die in nature. I'll make sure they're healthy. I don't put any chemicals on them to kill any of the bugs. And so those products that you put on are all natural. And then that's the other thing I kind of noticed, that I've been eating the honey and taking the bee products and all those things and using my lotion. It's all natural, and it has really made a difference in like my gut microbes, and then that's important with my brain. So it's brought me back to even a different level that I wouldn't expect, back to health, because after menopause, I just like, I don't even know what happened for me, honestly. So now I'm at a point where I'm going to have to reverse what I did. And the bees have really helped a lot with my whole over body health, because all the products are really super great for you. The honey's good. The beeswax is probably 10 times more worth its weight in gold than the honey, what you can do with it. And then all the other products that they come up, like royal jelly, propolis, the bee pollen, it's all really good for you. It's all natural stuff from nature. And I can tell you firsthand, having taken that, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference.
Dagmar, we can't hear you. You're on mute. I was reading your lips and I heard everything you said.
I would cut that. I find that amazing what you shared, that it's really something what you offer in the coaching, the one-on-one coaching and the group coaching. It's not just education somebody gets. It's not just feeling better about what they do for the world or for the environment, but it's also the healing, what Chloe said, and personal development. Because as you talked about that you felt anger as your daughter left, right? Like there are different stages of grief. And like losing the daughter by she's going out in the world is a loss, right? It's like somebody died.
Exactly.
Um, I think it's an amazing opportunity for anybody working with you that they can go through a healing process, which includes their spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental well being.
Yeah, the bees have a huge history of doing that through lots of different natural rituals throughout
And you
time.
too, Kat.
Yes. I mean, honey is really the only thing that I know that will last for 3,000. They found honey 3,000, 4,000 years old, and it's still viable, it's still good. The only thing that really would destroy honey, raw honey, is double dipping, introducing something into the honey that's not in the honey. But honey will last for a really, really long time.
And there's so many health benefits, like you said. I use honey almost every day. Instead of putting sugar, I put honey in my coffee. If I, maybe let's say you're feeling a little run down, the go-to is chop up some fresh ginger, boil some water, and put that honey in there. It's good for your skin. It's good for your hair,
Hmm.
which people wouldn't even think of. And Kat,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, it just reminds me that all this stuff is internal, and like as much coaching as anybody can give anybody, it really has to end up coming from with yourself. And some
100%.
of it has to do with time and learning about life, but it's a lot of hard work of looking at yourself and your patterns and your complacencies and your expectations. Like where dreams go to die is expectations, right? You have so many things in your head, getting out of your head
Change
and
the tape.
getting all the, yes, and getting that stuff that's in your brain, doing
Yep.
this and doing that, getting it out of your head. Yes, it's like living this life in my head is no good, and that's kind of what I've done. I put it in little compartments, and now it's all kind of coming back together, and I'm finding myself. I think, mother or not, in relationships, we just lose a little bit of ourselves with the world the way that it is, and it's good to work on that from the inside. It's really very powerful. It is.
You have to dig deep though to get there, because a lot of
It's
people
like, oh,
do that.
there's
They
so
don't
much.
want to go
Yes.
on the surface. They're in a pool that's like 3 feet deep. It's like you have to go to the deep end.
Yeah, you can go all the way down like that. That super deep pool where they do the scuba diving, we're like 20 feet deep. It's way down.
But you have to do.
Yes, you really have to dig, and it's hard work, especially with so many distractions of where you get your dopamine from these days. It's really hard to do something that's really physically, even your body, painful, hurtful, emotional. And there's so many other ways to get fix of dopamine. It's difficult to do and stay on track. It's very powerful work. I mean, and the bees have really, my experience has been really great with the bees, and I hope other people can have their own experience through whatever they're hearing here. Maybe something resonates with them. Because oftentimes I'll be listening to something totally random and be like, oh, hey, pay attention to that. It's like a sign.
So now that we come to the end of this episode, if somebody wants to connect with you, how can they reach out to you?
So they can reach out to me on casamojobees.com. That's my website, as well as I have the same moniker on Instagram, Casa Mojo Bees. And you can also find me under Kat Sitton, Facebook, Instagram. You can just send me a direct message, and I can respond back to you. And then if you need, I can send you my email, which is casamojobees@gmail.com. But just get a hold of me on social media. There's many ways to do that. I'm looking, and just Google me. I'm Googleable now. I mean, not like, but out there I did Kat Sitton. I got a couple articles about me. So, it's progressing. That's the thing. It's like in my head, I thought all this was you're going to do bees. You're going to be so cool. And everybody really actually mostly loves the beekeepers, to be honest. It's kind of a rush. But it didn't really work out
Girl,
that quickly. Yes. So now it's all sort of coming together.
Nothing goes
Exactly. It's a,
quickly as we want to. Are you kidding me?
come on, blink my eyes. This make this
Hey,
happen.
what would
Yes.
be the one message you could share with everybody, all our solvers who want to find solutions for their problems? What would be the one message you learned by working with the bees you would want to share that would help others start their healing, go into the healing, find their purpose, become a better person?
No big question. I would say that that's a heady question because there's a lot of there's quite a few dynamics to that. What I would say is that you are a feedback loop, and what you put out there is what you're going to get back. And sometimes you think that you're putting out some good stuff, but it's really stinky, and you've got to learn how to smell your own odor, right? And learn to put out, not even learn, it's just to get rid of that old dialogue and put a more positive feedback. And to do that, I feel like it's really important to get back into nature. Just looking at water is therapeutic. I've read researches on, and that's a real important part about that. But you get in what you put out. And part of my problem is my journey is I've not always put out good things. And even though while I've been a beekeeper, right, it's an important thing, but the feedback loop has tended to be a little negative at times. And it's always progressing things, do you, don't lose you, and put in a good bit and you'll get it back. But don't have an expectation of what you're going to get back, because it's never what you're going to get back. It's something completely different. Yeah, just be open to whatever's coming your way. Take everything with a grain of salt.
Beautiful.
Beautiful advice.
Thank you. It was really heartfelt. I had to think it. I was like, oh my goodness, that's a big question.
Dagmar likes to do that at the very end. She throws in the heavy guns. At the very last, you're like, "Ooh, I made it through the interview. This is great. My session was amazing." And then she's like, "Boom, mic drop."
What? Be kind.
You are amazing.
I know it will help a lot.
Really good energy. Great advice. I hope young people are listening and watching this, because you guys are the ones that really need to look at, older women. When I say older, what's older these days? Because
104.
I'm always 38. Okay, let's just start there. Kat, you really gave us some incredible insight. First of all, I think it's fascinating about the bees, and a lot more people are interested in knowing about it than you'd think. It's kind of like this phenom, and we need them in our environment. Global warming is real, okay, people? It's a real thing, and we really need to keep the bees in existence for all the reasons that Kat said. And we appreciate your time today
and being
with us. Speaking of where to find people, you can find Dagmar and I at ProblemSolvHer.com, no E, unsolved, ProblemSolvHer.com, on YouTube, and Problem Solve Her on Instagram. And just like Kat, you can find us all over the internet too.
Excellent. Yes. Are you guys Googleable? You are. That's how I found Dagmar.
Check engines too.
%, yes.
We're working on the Google. That's Dagmar. She's the SEO queen expert. So we're getting there. These things take time, and we're in it for the long haul. So
exactly. That's it. You're in it for the long haul.
Yep. Listening and viewing. If you're on YouTube, we're just three fabulous women sharing our stories. And I don't say that in a boasty way. I say it because, we're strong women and we're independent and we have a lot of experience, and we're here to share it with you all. So we see you, we hear you, right, Dagmar? And we see you.
I really hope that when everybody listens to this, they'll take away something and pay it forward. I would love to know about it, but if I never know about it, just pay it forward to somebody.
We're already sending out the vibes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Subscribe. Thank you.
Ladies, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Yes.
Good night and God bless.
Please note that the views shared by our guests are their own. We invite honest stories and diverse perspectives, but they don't necessarily reflect our opinions or serve as professional advice.